Hello, I am Kat.
Oh.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, this is Gabe and Kat Radio Time, where we tell you about horrific events in the news.
It is time where we say words to your ears. And they are spooky words. Yes. Yes, hello.
Yes, we are.
Hello and welcome.
This is episode 54.
Yeah,
We are in the middle of
Ford.
our... Ford. This is our isolation series, right? So,
Yes.
listener, guess where we are? We're inside.
Oh, cool. Okay. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to guess or if it were just supposed to, like, pause for dramatic effect.
Yeah, did you guys guess? You got it right if you said inside. If you said, I don't know. I didn't know this was a quiz. I didn't know you're quizzing us now.
I feel like they should know we're always in our basement.
We don't go anywhere, listener. We don't leave.
Ever.
Which is kind of the whole point of this episode specifically.
Yep.
We're talking about isolation indoors.
Yep.
When you're inside of a location, usually by your lonesome or with people, whether those are people you want to be stuck with or people that you are stuck with, but you're stuck in there, you're isolated.
It reminds me of the house that we lived in without windows.
That was a time. That was a horror story in and of itself.
Yeah, I just feel like that was very much like the epitome of what being, for myself at least, like isolated inside. And then like, I would go a whole morning and not know it was light out because there were no windows.
Yeah.
You could just sit in there and be like, oh, well, I thought the sun existed, but there's no evidence of that here. So
yeah,
maybe I'll just die. No one would know. I'm in this windowless room.
I don't think I could ever just be stuck with, like, even people I love. At some point, I'm going to need to, like, go outside or see a different person, like a different human, even if I don't like that person, just to see it, to get some variety.
To remember how good you have it, you need to go outside and interact with people you don't like. So when you come home to people you do like, you're like, oh my God, yeah, that's right. You're like super cool.
Yeah.
Remember what everyone else I know sucks? You.
Yeah. Let me come back. Or you're like, wow, you really suck. I did not even know.
These great other people and you're terrible now.
Why are we like this? Why are we stuck here with you if, you're the worst? Now I know. But you need variety. Not you.
I worry about this every day.
No. I've met many of people on my journey since becoming your friend, and I'm still here. So
I better be the favorite one.
Yes. I mean, we record a podcast every week. I have to love you.
You have to love me for more reasons than just that.
Well, Kat, you are an introvert.
I am.
How do you feel about the inside being stuck in it?
I love being inside. So it's tough because you have to have a fine balance. Because through my research, I was like, wow, a lot of these things are true for the days where, like, I get real gross and I don't leave my house. So, like, when you don't talk to other humans, it can be very good as an introvert for, like, a recharge period. Like, specifically, I think the biggest thing that as an introvert I need is quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, unoccupied time where, like, I can just have a minute and be like, oh my God, okay, the world, I can keep up.
You can recharge.
Because I've slowed it down for a minute. Or, like, I've gone somewhere where there isn't constantly car honking and dogs barking and noise, just lots of noise. And I've always been kind of sensitive to noise. I don't particularly know why. I don't know if that's just, like, the introverted element of me or...
I'm sensitive to noise, too.
Yeah, I just don't like loud things, so it's really ironic that we live in the city.
Yeah.
Because, like, child me would have been like, you're not, no. You hate the city. There's so many people there. You walk down the street and you are stressed. Mm-hmm. Because I would walk down regular streets and I would be like, oh God, there's one other person. What do I do? Do I have to say hi? Do I have to smile? I don't know. And then I would make that noise and keep walking and they would look at me like concerned.
Or Tina from Bob's Burgers.
Yeah, when I get stressed while walking, I don't know if you've noticed, we've walked in public many times together. I will like scream, like quietly, but I'll go,
yes,
until I get through the crowd. I get real stressed. Like we went to the mall this weekend.
Yeah.
It was awful. The whole thing.
It was stressful.
I hated it. There were so many people around. You like... All of them walk slowly.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh, I can't. I'm an aggressive pedestrian.
You can't pick the pace because they're families and you're not trying to push children. So like you
And
have to
everybody's
walk
rude.
slowly behind them. And then yeah, everyone's rude. Everyone's kind of like cranky and mad because they're
They
like,
just
why are
walk
we at a
right all
mall?
up on you like you're supposed to part like the Red Sea.
Yeah.
This is a public space, person.
Yeah, it's like real stressful. You can't ever tell when people are going. Sometimes they're on their phones and you're just like, I hate humans. I hate all other humans. I want to go home. And then I do. And I go home and the only thing I have to interact with is the cats.
Yeah.
And usually I'll just like watch TV or
And
just
me.
draw. Well, yeah, you're here too.
Wow.
I don't consider you,
A cat.
no, like a person that upsets
Wow.
me. No, I consider you a person, but like you're not on my list of people that if I'm feeling introverted,
You're
you
like
don't get to be there.
Subpar human? You're like...
No, it's a compliment. I'm
shadow?
saying that like you don't drain me. I enjoy your presence.
Thanks. I'm glad I'm not siphoning your energy life. You're welcome.
You're saying these things mad, but they're really nice words.
Okay. That's good.
So what I'm saying is that there are people who are like draining to talk to because you can't be yourself. I think that's
Yeah.
like the biggest
Yeah,
element
that's
of
a
it is
big
like
thing.
with introversion is like having to put on a face. So like the song that I told you about today, Ariana Grande's Fake Smile.
Oh.
Her whole thing is that like she just doesn't have the energy for it.
Aw.
And it's
Poor babe.
it's just like you have to go out in public and like put your makeup on and like act nice and act right, but you just sometimes don't have the energy for
I
it.
love her.
I know.
She's a role model for life. I'll fight people about Ariana Grande, like legitimately.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Ever since Mac Miller, I've been real defensive of
Yeah,
her. I just
no,
feel
I'll
like I
fight
have to protect her with words because
Precious.
people are just very judgmental over like loss and
Yeah.
grief and all that other stuff. But yeah, it's basically the whole thing is like, when do you have to go places and be fake?
Yeah.
Put on a fake smile or just like not fully be yourself? It's exhausting, especially for people who don't gain energy from being around other people.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like you're extroverted yet introverted sometimes. Like you're introverted extrovert maybe.
I think
Or
we all just have
extroverted introvert.
limits at some point.
Yeah.
I think it's natural.
I don't know if I think I'm an extroverted introvert in that with certain people I can be all about it and like really energetic and like friends, you know, like I enjoy spending time with certain people and there's not like a limit to that.
Yeah.
But there's like I'd say 90% of the other humans that exist that I know,
Yeah.
interacting with them just because of the fact that I can't like be super real with every single person I meet.
Yeah.
It's draining. I'm tired. Even if it's like, there are times where if it's like, it's more than one person, I can't.
Yeah.
Like I need to go home and like decompress where I'll play video games all day and not talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And that's healing. But what we're going to see is where it's not healing.
Yeah, because it's
a
usually
detriment.
not a choice. Yeah, I mean, I am very extroverted and I came from a very large family where there's people in and out constantly. Like, we just were a very large family. We had, like, open door policies, essentially, of, like, where friends of the family, like, whether it's the kid's friend down the street or your aunt's friend from work who has trouble, like, anyone who needed a place to stay, it was my house. So, and that was just our whole life. And we're also big. Like, we have I have lots of aunts and uncles and cousins and friends and all that. So, it was always, like, a hub. And so for me growing up, even not being in the city, it was constant, like, presence. Like, there was never alone. Like, there's always someone there. And so then, like, moving to the city, moving out on my own, that was a big thing, was, like, not having, like, a house that was constantly full with people in that way. But a lot of the times I do crave almost, like, a food. Like, you know, you just like get like a hankering for interaction for people. So like for me to go out and just like hang out or just be in a place where I can talk and like enjoy the presence of other people can recharge my batteries as well. But it's the choice. And I think that's the big thing. And that's what we're going to see today is that a lot of it is, it's not a choice. And so then it's detrimental and it's extreme. It's not like, okay, I'm going in my room and I'm playing video games or I'm reading or I'm just doing that. Like you're just completely like, one, you're out of your element. Like this isn't a comfort space and it's extreme isolation or like extreme silence. And it's coupled with fear of the unknown because you don't know if you're going to make it out.
Yeah.
And so that changes it. If you like, you know that at any point you can open your door and go outside and see another person and know that they exist. That's one thing. You can definitely enjoy yourself. But if you're like trapped, the door is locked and you're in there and you've never seen another person again, like you can start going crazy. There's some really great, like I think creepypasta stories even about people trapped and like not being sure that are like really cool.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a way to isolate yourself also that, like, maybe you're not trapped, but you're trapped by your own mind. Like, the anxiety of going outside is just too much, or, like, no one's reaching out to you, so you kind of feel like you don't have a reason. I don't know. I get to, like, to the point where I feel like 24 hours is, like, the good window. So if you're going to isolate yourself, taking 24 hours is okay. But if you extend past that is when you start to get into territory where you kind of lose what it is to interact with people.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I can speak from experiences. If I've gone, I go through weird phases. I spent a lot of my youth kind of like hanging out by myself. Mm-hmm. It was like my thing. I think I was raised by an old man, so I feel like that's why.
Yeah.
You sit in a giant house and there's two of you. And it's just quiet all the time.
Yeah.
So you learn to be quiet and you learn to enjoy quiet. But I think once you extend past the 24 hours is the territory where it's like you forget how to talk to people. Like, I know when I've gone through things where it's like no one texts me or calls me, I won't say words out loud.
Yeah.
All day. Or like if I do, I'm like talking to myself, and that's weird for like a passerby. So, like, you go an entire day with, like, not saying words to another human being. The next day, you're going to feel weird. It's just, like, a fact. Like, even myself, I'll notice that if I go a whole weekend and I haven't, like, done anything or, like, hung out with anyone, when I go to work on Monday, I feel awkward. Like, I feel uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't remember how to words. People are talking to me and I feel nervous. I'm like, why are you looking at me? Why are you here?
Yeah.
I'm stressed. And there's actually science to back up the fact that lack of social interactions can be extremely detrimental to your health.
Yeah, and we're going to dive into that. So
Sounds fun, right? Super fun.
Yeah, because this is our isolation series. So we are inside. So come on in. Oh, wait, no, you can't because we're isolated. Okay.
Facts. Yeah, facts. We tell you facts. All the facts. Hear facts. Still facts. About that spooky stuff. Yeah, spooky stuff.
So isolation. So there's been a lot to do with like isolating people, and generally it is seen either as like a scientific experiment to see what the mind can do when you're alone.
Yeah.
And then there's also this torturous aspect to it where it's could possibly be used to condition people to behave. So as a punishment for the incarcerated. One of the more famous versions of that is right here in Philadelphia. Our Eastern State Penitentiary was one of the first prisons to like solely feature like cells that were like incredibly small and isolated. So they would be blocked off from light. So they had no light. There would just be like no people. It was one person in a cell. And then once per day, they would like open up like the back door for them to go out to the yard, but not to interact with anyone. There was just another cell that was outside so that they can see the sun for like 15 minutes and then go back in. And that was like, they were convinced that would fix people. And there's people in there who did like petty crimes, like stole from the local store.
Insane.
Yeah. And are like in there. And so then they would go mad. They would lose like just basic like social functions and just not able and just kind of like deteriorate emotionally. One of the more famous cells that is in Eastern State Penitentiary, for anyone who doesn't know and you want to go visit, is Al Capone, the Chicago gangster. He had a cell that's supposed, like if you go there, his cell is supposedly this very luxurious cell that has like carpeting, there's a radio in it, it has like a nice lounge chair. He was only there for a little bit before he left and ultimately died of, I believe it was chlamydia. them's the times. But he was only here for a short time and then like was somehow let loose because of our shady system and his mass amounts of money from being an illegal gangsta.
Cool.
Yeah, there and on the other side, so when it's not used as a tool in incarceration, which can have even fatal outcomes because of how damaged people are, even from a few hours, honestly, in solitary confinement can really damage the psyche, especially with silence. You just kind of lose perception of what reality is, and a piece of you breaks, and it's honestly one of the most inhumane things that does happen. And we've lost people, some of them innocent even, because they have been put into those places. But on the other side of that, there's also like experiments, because we are interested in what isolation does, or what not having social interaction does, like the esteemed monkey experiments, right? Where they give some monkeys have their mom, the other ones had a robot mom, so they became like aggressive because they didn't know what affection was. They just got like nutrition from their mom. Sometimes they were just not even given that. They were just like given nutrition and then just left to their own devices, and then just could not, after a certain age, even learn how to interact properly.
Yeah.
And that's with monkeys, right? You'd be like, oh, cool. That's, scientists don't care about animals, whatever. Well, but guess what? They do it to people too.
Yeah.
So there's,
I would hope so, man. Like,
you would hope that they do it to people?
I would hope that they would care.
Oh, yeah. No. Well, I mean, like, how else would we have this information, I guess? So here's the thing, though. Here's something that when you think about testing and stuff, right? You really are, these tests are taking advantage of a population that is vulnerable and isn't entirely aware of what's happening, right? And that kind of has to be the case. Like, they can't get information or it's affecting what the results are going to be. So there's reasoning behind it, but it still is honestly just messed up. So one experiment in which there were people who were isolated would be an experiment that took place at McGill University Medical Center in Montreal. So what they did was they invited paid volunteers. That's usually what happens. Like, come into this, I don't even know what it would be called. I guess just
building.
Well, no, like
come inside.
They wouldn't call it an experiment, but like a testing, essentially.
Come and knock on our door.
Yeah, they're like, come into this experiment.
We will isolate you.
Yeah, and they get paid, and usually that's why they get the certain people that they do.
Yes.
In this case, it was a lot of college students, and they were tasked with spending days or weeks by themselves in soundproof cubicles, deprived of human contact. So these were soundproof cubicles where they would just like, it was very small, and they like couldn't even like feel things either, because they were given cotton gloves and cardboard cuffs and also translucent visors. So even their perception, like their peripherals were impeded, essentially. So it was just like you were not going to be able to touch or feel or understand things.
So that's like just completely like sensory messing. Like you're messing
deprivation.
Entirely with sensory.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they slept on like U-shaped pillows so that it would like restrict the noise that would be coming in, and had like this continuous hum of air conditioning units to like mask any small sounds that might get through.
Oh my gosh.
They, within hours, became restless.
Well, I would think so.
Yeah, they were craving any type of stimulation. So they would talk to themselves, they would sing, they were reciting poetry, just facts, things that they knew, just anything to like keep themselves busy and occupied, because we're people, we need to keep active. You can only sleep so much.
Yeah.
And they, like, their like mentality would also suffer in that they couldn't do like arithmetic or word association tests. Like they would test them after like being so long in there, and they would all like, even after a few hours, like lose the ability to really do basic things that they used to be able to do. More more on the alarming effects were hallucinations. They would like see lights or lines or shapes that would evolve into bizarre scenes. One of the examples was squirrels marching with sacks over their shoulders or processions of eyeglasses filing down a street.
Fun.
Yeah, so just, they're dreaming awake.
Squirrel friends. You can't have humans, so we have squirrels.
Yeah, well, some of them even, because it's so extreme, this deprivation, that some of them even had like sound hallucinations. So just like audible hallucinations. So they would hear something that wasn't there, like a music box or someone singing. And there's no one doing that. Or even sensations of touch, like hallucinations. So someone felt like they were being hit in the arm by pellets fired from guns. And another reached out to a door to touch a doorknob and felt an electric shock that wasn't there. And when they finally left the experiment, this is from BBC, they said they found it hard to shake this altered sense of reality, convinced that the whole room was in motion or that objects were constantly changing shape and size. Because you just lose like a sense of what reality is because you're deprived of what that was. And it's like some of them lose track of time. They have no understanding of what time is. If you even think about like when you're in an airplane for a long time, right? And if you're there for hours, like if you're traveling across the country or something, when you come out, you're just like, what is it? It's not even just the fact that time jumps. You're just like, I don't even know what the world is anymore because I've been trapped in this box of time, and then if your ears don't pop, you're also kind of isolated in that way. So it's like different elements to that can severely impact that.
There are instances where people are kidnapped. It was specifically, I don't remember her last name, but it was Jeannie, where she was isolated basically her entire child life until she was 13 years old. And when they got her out, like she had not developed the skill sets to understand language.
Yeah.
And like, as you said, like peripheral, that kind of stuff is all a factor. Is like in your young brain as you're developing, social interactions are so important.
Yeah.
Because we are social creatures, and that's how we learn.
Yeah.
We learn through interacting or seeing or
acting out, like, and then learning from like mistakes that you make. Like, if you don't know what is appropriate on how to act, like you can lash out and all that, and you learn from that. You learn, don't do that. Don't behave like that. But she didn't get any of that, so it was just instinctual. Feral. Yeah,
and it's when you have like the young mind, it's usually very elastic in that you can, or plastic, I guess. Plastic is the word they use in class. So it's moldable. You can kind of, if you crunch it all down, it can pop itself back up with air. Mm-hmm. So once it gets social interactions, if you're young enough, you can kind of bounce back.
Yeah.
But it's super critical in development of children is the social interactions. So if you're isolated and you don't get to experience that, it cuts off the chemicals that need to develop for you to kind of be able to process fear, understanding of your surroundings, and basically aggression and basic social skills. So if you don't have that, you see a person, you are immediately like, what is this foreign thing?
Yeah.
I do not understand.
You've never seen a mirror. You don't even know what you look like.
Yeah, you're fearful, you're stressed. It's that whole...
Plato's cave. Plato's allegory of the cave, where you have that weird perception of reality if all you've seen was shadows from the fire. And then when you go outside, you're just absolutely floored by the fact that people are three-dimensional or not shadows on the wall. Like that.
Yeah, it is like that. I had another thought.
Oh.
So it was the whole thing we said in our Scare Your Kids episode.
Yeah.
If just because an absence of like what you should be scared of does not create an absence of fear.
Yeah.
So essentially, if you are being isolated and you haven't seen realistic threats, everything is a threat.
Yeah.
Your fear receptors are on.
Because you haven't learned.
Because you're used to being by yourself.
Yeah.
That's your safe space. Even if it's the most unhealthy space, that's your safe space, and you don't know what to do when you are confronted with such foreign things. You're just like, that's an ant. It will kill me. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I've never seen an ant before. The ant is poison. we're all dead.
Yeah.
Like that's the level of fear is exponentially worse when you're isolated
Because you don't have anything
socially.
to compare it to.
Yeah.
You can't be like, well, this doesn't do that. Like, you'll know chair doesn't kill me, but that's about it.
But yeah, essentially it doesn't get rid of an absence of fear, but if anything, your fear receptors are accentuated. They're larger because you aren't having a concept of what should be worse or better. But also there's a specific chemical in your brain that has a long sciencey name, but I'm not going to say it because it's hard to say. But essentially, if you are isolated socially for long enough, your brain starts to decrease the production of that chemical.
Oh, boy.
So similarly to how I have narcolepsy, is the problem is my brain was like, you don't need to feel awake. I'm going to stop producing that chemical. So that chemical doesn't get produced very much, so I'm always tired. It's similar in that, like, you don't go outside. You don't socially interact with people. I'm going to stop producing that chemical that teaches you what stuff is.
You clearly don't need it.
Yeah.
It's a waste.
So, and unfortunately, in situations where you're trapped or you don't have a choice, your brain still does that. It doesn't know the difference. For example, it is also associated with depression, post-traumatic stress disorder in humans, and apparently there was a whole test on mice as well as flies, which makes me really sad.
Yeah.
Especially the thing you said about monkeys earlier. But essentially they would test isolated mice versus non-isolated mice and how they would interact with each other after being like separated from the isolation. And that like essentially the results were that the mice that had experienced isolation for long periods over than 24 hours lost all kind of ability to interact with the other mice. Like it would be aggressive to the other mice. It wouldn't want the other mice to get close to it. Mm-hmm. Its basic like social constructs and understandings were skewed.
Yeah.
And like for periods of extremely long isolation, it was mice don't live very long. So, you know, they never got it back, which is really sad that that's their whole life now. But basically, with humans, it operates similarly. If you go more than 24 hours without human interaction, your brain is going to act differently.
Yeah.
It's going to be harder for you. Whereas, like, because the brain is plastic, it can bounce back if you make it that long.
Yeah.
And you have people in your life who can teach you again and have that, like, patience with you.
Yeah.
The, like, sad end is if you don't. But, yeah, big roundabout way of saying isolation can be really bad, especially even if you have like self-induced, just being by yourself. It just increases your brain's capacity to create things that might not be there. So that's why people hallucinate. It's because they're trying to fill that unoccupied space that people would fill, because your brain will do what it needs to do to kind of cope. And if it's you talking to a bowling ball thinking that's your best friend now,
Wilson.
that's what it is. I mean, it's...
Yeah. It
you
helps.
do what you need to do to stay sane, even if it is a little insane. Like, it's the reality.
You play pretend so that you can retain the social contracts. And, you know, I feel like this is going to come up a lot more next episode, so next week. But it's like Chris McCandless had said and or wrote, happiness only real when shared.
Yeah.
Chris McCandless is from Into the Wild. So next week we're talking about isolated outside, that's a horror story in itself. But yeah, it took him being all the way out there to be like, oh wow, this is actually awful. I'm really sad.
Yeah, like all the people who are like, I want to go buy an island and be on an island by myself. It's like, sweetheart, no, you don't.
I've seen Castaway. It's awful.
And you just like, you need people, like even as an introvert, you need certain people who don't drain you.
Yeah.
Instead, like, you know, make you happy, or even are just understanding of like what you need.
Yeah. And you're not going to learn, your brain's not going to learn to do that unless you're doing it.
Go outside, friends.
Yeah, go outside. Stop. I hope you're listening to us outside. Put your headphones in. Take us out. That's one thing I will say.
Play Pokemon Go, just walk around, you know.
As an extrovert, I feel very strongly about having podcasts or audiobooks or some kind of audio in my ear. Just like a person talking to me. Because if I'm out there, I'm just walking around all by myself. It's like I will go crazy.
Well, that's just like where the thoughts come in. The thoughts you maybe don't want to think so much.
I don't need those.
The ones that you suppressed for a while, and now you remember that when you were younger, bad stuff happened to you during an eclipse. Silence does that.
It's like, oh my god, here we go, real cat.
The brain reminds you of the things that were bad.
Scared.
Yeah, films. We watched some films. Now let's talk about those
watched 2 things. So we watched 10 Cloverfield Lane,
Yes.
which is in a way related to Cloverfield, which is the shaky cam film. And then later, the Cloverfield Paradox, I believe, is the next one.
Right? I don't know.
Beings, right?
Things.
So
Stuff and things from outer space.
This is from 2016. I will say this. You really don't know its relation to Cloverfield until the end. Like, there's no real... Like, if it didn't have Cloverfield in the name, you would have been even more confused.
You'd be like, what?
Because there's really nothing to give you.
I'm not going to be your daughter wife. I need you to chill, dude.
So this is 10 Cloverfield Lane. With her car rammed by a heavy truck after fleeing a dead-end relationship in her hometown of New Orleans, the hopeful young designer, Michelle, regains consciousness only to find herself inexplicably handcuffed to the cinder block wall of Cryptic Howard's underground bunker. The grizzled survivalist claims he has saved Michelle not only from the obvious car crash, but also from an indistinguishable airborne toxic threat that rendered the air unbreathable and the earth uninhabitable. Could Howard be telling the truth, or is this mysterious or even hypothetical danger a deceitful pretense for something far more sinister? Directed by Dan Trachtenberg.
It was stressful, y'all.
Yeah.
That movie was stressful. Because, like, when you're, like, where she is, you're like, huh. Wait a minute. That's a flaw in this plan. The things you're saying don't seem real true, big guy. You're a dad in a lot of movies, so I'm inclined to think you're not threatening. But also, what happened to that girl?
Yeah.
What's not being told to me?
Yeah, because it's John
Where are
Goodman.
my pants, man?
John Goodman is Howard. He's the guy who has you down. So one, he plays a very good creep. He does do a good job. But he also feels just like he might be a little unstable, which does not help to drive home the whole apocalypse theory for a lot of it. It does make us a little...
Yeah, he seems off. You're just like,
yeah,
dude,
like
he's
just a doomsday prepper. His wife and kid left him because he's a doomsday prepper, and he just was extreme. Like, I've watched I watched doomsday prepper shows. I get it, and I've also lived in those homes.
I'm so excited for the game. It's called Mr. Prepper, and you get to be a doomsday prepper, and it hasn't come out yet, but it looks really fun.
Yeah, but it stars him and also Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and apparently she was like, they didn't even have a casting call. They just wrote the part for her. Like, they wanted it to be her. If you're unfamiliar, she is Ramona Flowers. So if you haven't watched Scott Pilgrim 1, what are you doing? She's from that. She's also in other things, but my brain is blank right now. But she, in the beginning, she doesn't talk for the first, 12 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
And then she's just driving along. She hears something vague on the radio that would suggest that there's some kind of something happening,
A spooky thing, if you will.
Yeah, or something like a news alert. But honestly, nothing that you would ever cause an alarm.
Yeah.
It's like we get news alerts all the time. It wasn't like one of those emergency ones where it's like, It was just like reports of blah, blah, blah.
Children.
Yeah. So she gets hit by a car and then wakes up underground in this bunker. There's one other person there who seems to have his wits about him, but it doesn't seem very smart. But he believes the apocalypse. And he even tells her that he chose to be in there.
Yeah, like he knew him before.
Yeah, he helped him build the bunker.
Yeah.
So essentially what had happened was that John Goodman's character, Howard, built this bunker believing in the impending apocalypse. He believes in things like worms from outer space, things like that. And so he built this bunker because he knew it was going to happen.
Gonna bury it to your brain, y'all.
Yeah. And then Emmett is just like this lowly townsfolk guy who helped him build it. And so something goes awry in the town, which caused him to come and beg for him to be here, which was not Howard's original plan, because Howard's also a pervert. But the first time, well, I mean, you get that, but the first time you're in that room, it definitely feels like she was just kidnapped. Like, you don't know you're in an underground bunker. You just think that he kidnapped her and chained her to the wall. And then he's like,
spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, it's all spoilers. But then he, tells her, no, I saved you, actually. You should be thankful. And then it's like, did he though? And then Emmett's like, I chose to be here. And you're like, okay, maybe. And then something else weird happens. And you're like, maybe not. And then you run upstairs and you're like, maybe it is. And then you're like back in the world and you're going about your life and you're like, but maybe it's not. And then something else happens. You're like, but what if it is? That's the whole movie.
One thing that sucked though is like things were totally chill till like she freaked out the second time.
Yeah. But
I understand, but then like that guy maybe not would have died then.
yeah, but it was also like she was a very good survivalist. Like she was very much like, I can't remember her name, but the woman from You're Next, where she had prepper. She even had her own kind of prepper things. Like from the beginning, from the get-go, she is creating things to try to escape. Like if he was just a run-of-the-mill, like there wasn't an apocalypse aspect to it, then she probably would have got out.
Yeah.
But the fact that there's this element, so it's like a psychological thing that's keeping her there.
Yeah.
Kind of like with, what was it? With that documentary we watched where the girl got abducted twice? Abducted in plain sight.
Yes.
Where he, like the second time happened because he had brainwashed her.
Yeah.
You know, so it's this, you know, she physically at any time, if she really believed wholeheartedly that she needed to get out of there and that if she got out there she would be safe, then she would have been gone already.
Yeah.
But because of this tango, if you will, of the truth, whether or not the outside is bad.
Yeah.
And she does believe that.
Well, yeah, because there's the one scene where like the woman with the face burns is like banging on the thing and like slams her head into the wall a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Kind of convinces you pretty accurately that like something's not right, you know, on the outside.
Something seems off. And I think
feel like maybe we shouldn't go out there. What do you think, John Goodman? He's like, yes.
I think a good part of it is that she does at some point believe him. And from that lady, like you couldn't have written that any better, right? From that lady, she does believe that the outside is bad. But then she also can believe and understand that something is wrong with Howard.
Yeah.
And that he's also like, not all there and not cool. Good. Yeah. He has like he's essentially like a pedophile, had kidnapped a woman previously. So we find that out in the film.
Yeah.
Spoilers. And there's this very hilarious scene where they're playing charades. And
it's not hilarious, it's upsetting.
It is very upsetting, but it's also so really kind of funny when it's happening because it's so uncomfortable. But they're playing charades and he is trying to... The clue is little woman or little women. And so Emmett's like, well, it's what Michelle is. And so he's like, little girl, princess, child, little girl, young girl. Like he can't, like he has equated her to a child, which is why he has kidnapped her and taken her because she's got like a very youthful look to her, but she is a grown woman. Yeah. And so it's like this awkward tension with Emmett and Michelle kind of looking and sharing with each other like, and he's like stressed because he's so angry that he isn't getting it right. And then at the end when it's like, oh, it's Little Women, he's just like, that's dumb. Like give better clues next time. And then
it's like, I pointed to the grown woman next to me.
Yeah. Disgusting.
It's like this.
Princess.
Stop. Oh my God.
And then when he's doing, what is it? Santa Claus is his clue. And he's like, I see what you're doing. I'm always watching. And Emmett's like freaking out because he thinks they're getting found out for what their plan is.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's just losing. Like, man, I don't know what you're saying. Like, I don't know what that is. And she's like, Santa Claus.
It's like, yeah. It was Santa. Like all aggressive, like, and you're like, dude.
Yeah, because he's not good. It was very fun, and even like it's just stressful the entire time, and the whole ending sequence. The last like 20 minutes is so high intense.
Because you're like, you got away from the one thing. Why?
You just
I would be
catch
so
a break.
Pissed.
Yeah.
If I escaped the creepy pervert man.
Yeah.
Who just murdered my friend, and I saw his body melting in acid, and I was
my only friend.
Yeah. Of like maybe the only humans left.
Yeah,
you don't know.
Exactly.
So then like you gotta kill that guy and blow up the shelter. Because you gotta. He's trying to kidnap you gross times. And then you get outside and air is poison, kind of, but not.
And then it's not, but then it is. And then it's like, what is happening? There's a lot. It's so much. And it's like I really
I would just like to go back inside with Creepy Man,
And you
except
can't.
no, I don't. I don't want to do that. What do I do?
What is this? I really would
It's like,
have
you're all
loved
dead then.
if
Fine.
just like Mary Elizabeth Winstead just looked at the camera and was just like, really? Are you kidding me? Like, but she doesn't give up, not for a second. She fights the entire time, and she's very clever girl. She's that.
Yeah.
She's like a velociraptor, but a person. And
Excellent.
yeah, she's really amazing. As far as like, you know, horror movie heroines go, she's up there.
Yeah.
She's pretty up there.
I agree.
If I was gonna be second anywhere, I want her to be there.
We did. We watched Gerald's Game, when a harmless game between a married couple in a remote retreat suddenly becomes harrowing fight for survival. Wife Jessie must confront long-buried demons with her own mind, and possibly lurking in the shadows of her seemingly empty house.
Yeah. So what we're opened up with is Jessie and her husband Gerald. They have retreated to like a lake house, right?
Yes.
To rekindle their romance.
Ah, yes.
It's very clear from the beginning that things are weird and just tense.
They're so awkward together, yeah.
Yeah, like they very clearly don't really know, like, or understand each other. It's like this weird relationship where it's almost like an agreement that they're together and less of like a love at all.
Yeah.
And so with this rekindling, Gerald has this fantasy to handcuff Jessie to the bed. And he does so. And she immediately is like triggered. She is like PTSD all up in there and is just like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
This needs to end. They never establish a safe word. There very clearly isn't a real discussion that happened here. She was not given all the information. Like, you can totally have these types of fantasies. Even people who have rape fantasies, like those are things that can happen. But there has to be communication, and that does not happen. There's
no safe word. And also, like, why are you using like real heavy duty cuffs, guy?
Yeah.
That's not necessary.
Well, it was very malicious. It did not seem like we're doing this together. You're doing this for like we're doing this. This is what my kink is, and we're both
Exploring it.
Yeah, we're both figuring it out. It was, I want to do this thing, and I'm going to use you to do it because you're easy to victimize. And so there was no respect for her. But what happens is she gets handcuffed with these heavy duty handcuffs, and she's triggered. She's like, nah, this needs to end. And she's like, unhandcuff me now. Like, she even, like, I think bites him. Like, she does. She's literally just like, get off. And so at one point he says to her, what if I don't? Right. And there's this whole buildup where he like asks her to scream, but no one will hear her. Like, that's why it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, there's no safe word because she's saying stop. And he's like, oh, this is the part of the thing. And he has a heart attack.
Yeah.
Right on top of her before unhandcuffing her. And he falls dead on top of her. And she like is holding him up with like her feet and then kicks him off. And he's hella dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he wasn't dead before, he's definitely dead after his head hits the real solid floor.
Yeah. So then she's stuck there. And so the whole movie it's based off of a Stephen King novel of the same name and story. But in the novel, it all takes place from her head. It's her struggling with her own psychosis and memories and challenges and being stuck in that room and going crazy. And being trapped because she can't get out.
Yeah.
In this movie so it's not just like monologue. Her visions and her inner monologue is represented by Gerald, who's dead, but like he's back to be her like conscious one of them, and then a version of herself that is tougher and has escaped.
Yeah.
And they both like lead her to like an escape through like memory, like her traumatic memories of like, remember when this happened? Use that in this instance.
Yeah. One thing that was like really bothersome to me, there's a handful of things, but the one that like really got me is like unoccupied time is a big thing. So the longer you live within that realm, your mind's going to fill that space.
Yeah.
Especially if traumatic events are happening.
Yeah.
So, like, you are not going to be fully in your body, sure. But her level of, like, not trying to escape for as long as she does not try to escape is crazy to me.
Yeah.
She, like, psychotic break totally makes sense if you see your husband getting eaten by a dog.
Yeah.
And he has just died on top of you.
Yes. And you're changing.
I get that would cause, like, especially considering her past, like, paralysis, essentially, like paralyzing fear or paralyzing whatever, where you can't kind of think or move.
Yeah.
But, like, when she starts to come to, the fact that her reaction is not, like, her head doesn't work. And maybe that's because she's so triggered. I don't know.
Yeah,
but it was just,
when
like,
you
crazy to me.
Think about what had to be done in order for her to escape. Like, you had to be at a very critical moment of instability to be able to do that to yourself, to get out. But she doesn't, like, she is very calm in the way that she's not, like, trying, like, she's not hurting herself, like, unintentionally by trying to break out. Where it's like, for me, there's one time where I was visiting a friend and she had this faulty door that didn't have a handle. So it was, like, known amongst, like, the roommates not to close it. But one of the roommates had a friend over and they left and they closed the door. So we were trapped inside. And it took me all of 5 minutes before I lost it. Like, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be trapped. Like, literally, like, anyone could have come home at any time and then the door would have been opened. But I was like, but right now, I am stuck in this house. Like, even with a friend of mine.
There weren't windows?
No, it was like a old, like, it's a West Philly home. It was crazy. And we were just stuck in this room. Like, the way that it was. And I was just like, no. And then we also ordered food. So the delivery person had to leave it out on the stoop. And I was just like, I was absolutely losing it. So I ended up taking the door off the hinges. But it was like my immediate, like, there was no moment of like, you know what, someone's going to come around, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, it really wasn't even that high-end stress. Like, it was it was totally chill. We could have been fine. It did not need to happen. But my immediate response is like, I need to know that I can get out of here if I need to get out of here, which means it's going to happen now. So I was like, if that means I'm tearing your house apart, that's what's going to happen because you're not keeping me in here. And it was just like, that was the craziest, like, thing I think I've ever experienced is like, nope, I don't do, like, you can't trap me in a room. I'm going to lose it. This is the one.
That's kind of where I'm at with it, is that, like, there's just a natural fear response when you feel like you can't move or, like, get out of something. So, like, specifically not being able to move, I would be trying to rip everything off. I'd be, like, moving the bed with my body. I'd be, like, jerking to try to get closer to the phone. Yeah. Like, the level of calm that she is just, like, maybe she's just a very different person. Yeah. But, like, it's hard as a human to not, like, try to put yourself in other people's shoes, I guess. So I'm sitting there like, well, I would be losing my mind. Like, I do not handle not being able to move my own parts very well. Yeah. I get mad and stressed. I was locked in a, like, toy room once, and, like, I almost broke the door off. Like, it's real. I was very much just like, slamming on it, like, till I think I, like, cut my hands up. Yeah, there's no way. There's no, and with her, I think a lot of it is, so within, like, they use her past trauma of being molested by her father to, like, remind her of what's around her. Yeah. Which is, like, a really interesting way to do that, to, like, tie in a past to, like, empower you in the future kind of thing. Yeah. And the way they do it is very interesting because it's very dreamlike, right? You're revisited. But you can tell that she was, like, a very quiet and, like, soft girl in the way she was manipulated back then. And, like, they say it, like, he put the handcuffs on you long before Gerald did. And it wasn't, like, real handcuffs. It was emotional handcuffs that he tricked her. She just didn't feel like she could act. Yeah, and that's how she got trapped into this situation. That's how she ended up with Gerald in the first place. Mm-hmm. Is, like, being, like, having been handcuffed and trapped emotionally back then. So in this moment where she's physically handcuffed, she's still mentally handcuffed. So she has to get over that and surmise that obstacle before she can do the physical obstacle, which was horrific. So there's also, in this place, there's also actual real life physical things that are happening. One, she has the potential to dehydrate. She understands you only have, like, 3 days tops before you're dead. So she does figure out how to get water a little bit, which was actually really cool. Yeah. There is a dog
a wild dog that is continuously eating her husband a little bit and feeling her out to wait till she dies, which is honestly kind of nice because there are plenty of dogs that would just eat you. Like if you fall asleep too hard, they eat your face. And Jessie is lucky in that she found the one dog that wouldn't do that, who would just wait till you do that. There's also the Moonlight Man. He has a different name in the book that I can't recall right now, but it's essentially this really tall, dark creature that's in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
Like at one point, like she wakes up and she sees him and he's super creepy. He has this bag full of jewels and stuff, which makes for a really like wacky turn ending, which happens in the book. Mike Flanagan is the director of this. He's also directed The Haunting of Hill House, Oculus, and one of the Ouija films. So he knows horror. And with The Haunting of Hill House, like the similar idea of like isolation and family corrupted like dynamics. With Oculus, that's super isolated and it's like two siblings who are confronting their past as well. So he's very familiar with doing this. But Gerald's game was like his thing. Like ever since he read it, like in high school, I think it was, he was like, I want to make this into a film, which is crazy because this is like not the kind of, this isn't one of the books that anyone would be like, this is going to be a movie. But he kept the wacky ending, which is that the Moonlight Man is real.
Yeah.
And that he was a guy who was going around desecrating graves, stealing their jewelry and stuff. Also having sex with the male ones. And then also he's taking their parts. And then actually like then attempts to kill someone and like cut off his ear. And that's when he got caught. And then she finds out that it was him and like goes and confronts him.
Yeah.
Which is like a really crazy thing. Like she's like the whole story was she's trapped in this room and you think that guy's just her imagination, but she just got lucky that he had a thing for men, not women, and also for dead people and not women who are just strapped to beds.
Yeah.
Lucky. Also lucky that she found that dog that does not just kill people. It's not
I'd be like,
Cujo.
hey, Moonlight Man, I'll give you my ring. Get that key, please.
She thought he was a figment. Hey, guy, hey, you want to do me a favor?
You're really scary looking. But, like, I need a solid. I need you to do me a solid. I need you to get that key over there. I'll give you jewels.
Listen, my husband's down there. I hate him. He's dead anyway. Take whatever you want. Take whatever you need from him.
Take his ears. Take his penis. He can't use it no more. He's dead.
Just take it. Ain't nothing but Robin on this bed. Except right now.
Ain't nothing better happen on this bed.
Except everything. So yeah, just do me a solid, guy. Listen, I know the undead Gerald and the more cooler version of me are a figment of my imagination. You are a variable in which I cannot define. So on the off chance that you are a real person, could you just like help a lady out? But she's definitely like, you were made of moonlight, you are not real. And that's what he says to her later.
Well, there's also that weird thing where it's like, if she didn't realize that he wasn't real, like if she thought he was real,
yeah,
I feel like he might have killed her because that's a different reaction.
No.
I feel like she would have been screaming. She would have been like, get away.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You know, I feel like it would.
And he would have reacted.
It would have like antagonized.
But she went right up to him and handed her ring. Which he probably was like, whoa.
I feel like, I think like her screaming, like freaking out that if she thought he was real. You put a pillow on her face. You say, stop screaming.
Yeah. Well, I was... It's so ridiculous. I will say, so if you do get a chance to watch this film, we spoiled quite a bit, but it gets like a 10 out of 10 gore rating only for like literally one scene that even I had to look away from and I can do whatever. But the way that she has to get out, I would say the phrase degloving herself to express, which I don't know if that's exactly, oh my God, it's so bad. It's
I've seen
worst.
it in my head. It won't go away.
Yeah, it was, and we've seen it twice. We watched this movie twice and I didn't remember, I blocked it out. I had blocked it out. So then when it was about to happen, I was like, oh my God, this thing happens. And then I had to watch it again and it was traumatizing. Yeah. That's what she had to do to get out. I definitely understand that she has a lot of mental hoops to jump through before she gets to that point.
Saying like maybe she could have got out. She only kind of cut her hand.
I don't know. I think the skin was in the way. Okay, bye.
Yeah, feelings. Yeah, I said feelings. Let's talk about feelings. Okay.
So if you like it, it's Moonlight Man. You're a main of Moonlight. Or if you don't like it, it's Little Princess, because it was super cringe, super cringe time in that film when he could not remember the word woman for the very literal woman in front of him. And so for this, the topic of isolation indoors, extreme isolation indoors, not you made the decision to step away from people for a minute and play your video games. This is you are either
my Instagram.
You are trapped in the place, either because you're getting paid, but you're being, sensory deprivation, or possible apocalypse, or changing a bed. So what's your feelings?
Hey, Mr. Moonlight Man, what's up?
Moonlight Man?
Take my ring, not my hand. Thanks, friend.
Blue moonlight man, you saw me laying alone in a bed. So you like it? You're digging it?
Yeah, I'm for it. I mean, not for, it happening to people, but it's interesting.
It is interesting.
It makes me want to be more extroverted, because I'm like, ooh, bad stuff happens.
Yeah, your brain hurts.
Ooh, that's not good. I need to go outside, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't like people, but I gotta like people a little bit.
Yeah.
And also, if the apocalypse happens, now I know that whole, pick who you're gonna try to be with at that time.
Yeah.
You gotta, do that.
Okay, what about for the film?
They were good.
Moonlight Man.
Moonlight Man.
Yeah, I agree.
Here are all my jewels.
They're so different, but they both triggered things in you. They both triggered my defenses. If I were, because I feel like I would have operated like Michelle. As soon as I was stuck in that room, I'd be like, all right, how do I get out of here? And then even with that guy being like, there's an apocalypse, I'd be like, okay, but how do I survive the apocalypse? Because I'm getting out of here. Because you're not keeping me in here. I'm tearing down the walls. There's no way I'm staying in here. And the same thing with it. It triggered this, maybe I'm claustrophobic and I don't know.
Well, I feel like if it was a Jesse situation, I'd be losing it. Because one, you're by yourself. Mm-hmm. Two, the outside's fine. You're looking at it. You're like, hey, I want to go there. Get me off this bed. But with the Michelle thing, I feel like I would have been like, okay. And probably just went along with it until he did something weird. And then I would kill him.
Yeah.
But with poison or in his sleep.
I think, I wouldn't have been like, how do I get out of here?
Why is this guy like this? I'd be like, oh, thanks, dude.
I don't understand why
and
we
if
couldn't
he was
kill
weird,
him.
I would have been like, oh, that's okay. I'm good at maneuvering in toxic stress situations and being not inducing a rage.
Yeah.
I know how to be cool. If anything, I'm really good at calming people down.
Yeah.
So I would keep him from getting weird a lot.
Yeah.
Probably until he was just really weird.
I think the second that he seemed weird, it's why couldn't, when he's watching TV, you just go up with a screwdriver and a hammer and just right in the head. And then it's done. We're done dealing with it. It's no more. He's gone.
Yeah.
Now it's just me and my friend Emmett. We're just living out the apocalypse. Now we have more food because this isn't eating it. And he's not looking at me weird and calling me a princess baby. So
repopulate the earth with my weird Emmett
with
children.
my Emmett friend. This poor sweet baby. Yeah, totally. Easy answer, kill that guy.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is he had a gun is why they were unable to. But I feel
There's plenty of times he was just sitting there. He didn't know.
He does asleep,
He also does asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't go about it right. But I'm just saying, I totally wouldn't have been I need to get out of here. I would have been like...
They have cleaning supplies down there.
All right, the apocalypse is here. Yeah, I would have cooked... I would have given him bleach tea.
Yeah, we'll just open his mouth
and bleach tea.
Yeah. Here's some Drano. Drain your organs.
Clean
here
baby's
you go.
tum-tum.
Yeah, cleans baby's tum-tum. Right to death because you're out of here, mister. And then maybe we discover the acid afterwards.
That you let me stay here.
Thank you for building this entire shelter for me.
Best
your baby princess.
Prince ever.
Oh my god.
You are the king.
He's just
of
Ice
this
King.
Shelter. Here is my heart. Drink this poison.
Pillow. Shut up, pillow face.
Stop screaming. Here's pillow.
That's it. The end. So that was isolation indoors. So don't get married. They'll eat your kids. Blue moonlight man saw me laying alone Without a husband here.
Take his ears, but not my leg.
With just a dog on my own.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Beautiful.
Okay, bye.